Okay, good day everyone. So we will have the module 2, the security policy development and implementation. So what actually is an IT security policy? Okay. Simply put, it's a formalized set of rules and guidelines established by an organization to ensure the secure and response use of its IT resources. Now, think of it like the house rules or the traffic laws uh, of a company's digital world. Okay, just like a traffic law. Okay, it exists so cars don't, uh, so our crash or so our car don't crash into each other. Okay. Now, an IT policy ensures that employee use company laptops, networks, and software safely. When we say safely, without accidentally leaving the digital front door wide open. Okay? Now, breaking that down further, what is this policy actually designed to do? It outlines the exact practices and procedures needed to number one, safeguard against unauthorized access. Number two, to protect sensitive data. And number three, mitigate everyday cybersecurity risk. Now, for an example, imagine you receive an email with an attachment from an unknown sender. So, what should you do? Okay, or what happens if you need to access confidential student or financial records from home? Now, without clear procedures, people just guess and guessing. Okay, so this procedure or guessing is where um, data breaches, okay, or where data breaches happen. Now, the IT policy or this policy removes the guesswork by laying down clear protocols like requiring multi-factor authentication or defining how confidential files must be encrypted before sharing. Now, ultimately, an IT security policy serves as the foundational document meant to guide and regulate the behavior of everyone who touches the organization's IT assets. Here's a uh, within this frame, okay, a reality check in cybersecurity, wherein you can buy the most expensive firewall in the world, but if an employee writes their password on a sticky note and paste it on their monitor, which is this is actually uh, a real world example, especially for those uh, organizations with senior members, okay, or uh, members with at least that are aged, okay, they paste it on their monitor. Then the firework, even that expensive firewall, will not be able to save you or your organization. Okay. Now, technology alone doesn't secure a system. It's the people who do it. Okay. This policy establishes a shared baseline of accountability so that everyone, from an intern to the CEO level, will actively contributes to maintaining a safe, secure computing environment. Now that we have able to define what a security policy is, let's try to check another bigger question on why do we need a security policy. The first major reason is risk mitigation. Okay? Picture this common scenario wherein an employee is rushing to meet a deadline and accidentally emails a spreadsheet containing sensitive customer details to an unauthorized third party. Okay? By it looks, it wasn't or it is not malicious. It's just a simple, honest mistake. However, the solution or how can we avoid or how can we mitigate this possible risk? Okay? A clear security policy outlines strict data handling practices. It defines how sensitive information must be labeled, who is allowed to view it, and what channels can be used to send it. Okay? Now, by standardizing these actions, we prevent human errors from turning into a costly data breaches. Now, the second reason comes down will be or comes within this question is that the compliance and legal requirements. Now, take a financial institution like a bank or even our university handling student records. These organizations are legally obligated to follow data privacy laws and industry standards. Now, failing to protect user data doesn't just mean bad publicity. Okay, it can mean massive regulatory fines and possible lawsuits. Now, a robust security policy acts as the company's legal shield. It formally enforces encryption, tight access controls, and regulatory or regular security audits. Now, this proves to regulatory bodies that the organization is not just hoping for uh, security. They have documented verifiable systems in place. Now, finally, we have our third reason, which is establishing a security culture. Okay, imagine walking into an office where every employee instantly spots a phishing email. Okay, knows never to uh, or every employee knows never to click suspicious links and understand why sharing account passwords even on or even with a teammate is a major hazard. Now, that kind of awareness doesn't happen by accident. The policy is the blueprint for employee training, transforming your workforce into your stronger line of defense. Now, when everyone understands the risk and their personal responsibility, you are drastically reducing human related security incidents. Right? Now, now that we have able to identify or define what IT security policy is and why we need a policy, let's get into the practical side on how to or how do we develop or how do we actually build an IT security policy from scratch. So there are multiple steps that we will be discussing. So step one is to define objectives and scope. First, clearly articulate what the policy aims to achieve. Okay? So are we protecting a customer privacy, securing intellectual property, or even both? Now, or next, we define the boundaries. Okay? What systems, databases, hardware, and business processes are covered? Now, think of it like setting our perimeter fence. Wherein, if you don't clearly state whether remote employee laptops or third-party cloud apps are covered inside that fence, critical gaps will be left completely unprotected. So, step two, identify assets and risk. Okay, you simply cannot protect what you don't know or what you don't have. Okay, Now, that's why organizations must run a comprehensive inventory of all IT assets from its servers, laptops, proprietary softwares, customer information or customer databases, and network switches. Once you have once you have that inventory, you evaluate the threats. What risk do this you may want to ask what risk do these assets face from the outside, like ransomware attacks, okay? And what risk, okay, exists internally, like accidental deletions or unauthorized downloads. Having these things or knowing what's valuable and what threatens it, okay, it will tell you exactly where your strongest defense needed to go. Now, on the third step, okay, the legal and regulatory compliance, security policies don't exist in a vacuum. They must comply with laws specific to your industry and location, such as the Data Privacy Act of 2012 here in the Philippines, or standards like the PCI DSS for credit card processing. During this stage, document every applicable legal mandate, okay, and embed those requirements directly into your policy. Okay. This was discussed during your, I think, during the module 2 or module 3 of your cybersecurity fundamentals when we discussed the different cybersecurity or information security related laws. Okay? This ensures standard operating procedures automatically align with the law, keeping your organization more compliant and out of legal hot water, possibly or in the near future. Okay? Step 4 is a step that often gets overlooked, which is engaging our stakeholders. A common mistake is letting the IT department write the policy in isolation. Now, if IT writes rules that make it impossible for HR or sales to do their daily jobs, employees will just find workarounds, which will possibly destroy the security. Okay. Now, what is our option or what is our best next move? That is to bring leaders from legal, compliance, human resources, and operations into the meeting table or into a roundtable discussion as early as possible. So gathering cross-departmental feedback will ensure the policy is not just secure on paper but practical and workable in day-to-day operations. Next is the risk assessment and management. Here, we evaluate our vulnerabilities and calculate their potential impact. Okay? Now, if this specific server gets compromised, what is the downtime and financial loss? So we must able to ask that to our selves. Now, once risks are prioritized, develop targeted management strategies to mitigate them and build those controls directly into the policy. Now, this guarantees the company invest time and money protecting the highest priority vulnerabilities uh, at the first hand. Okay. Step 6, establish roles and responsibilities. Security is a team effort, but without a clear accountability, everyone assumes security is someone else's jobs. Okay. Now, within this uh, within this step, we try to check the exact duties. For end users and employees, we suggest they are responsible for following password rules and reporting suspicious emails. For system administrators, they're responsible for patching software and managing system backups. For security officers, They are responsible for monitoring threats and running audits. Now, when everyone knows their role, nothing falls through any cracks, any attacks, or any intrusions. Step 7 focuses on access controls and authentication. Now, this establishes who gets access to what, to what, okay? Using the core cybersecurity concept of list of or principle of least privilege. Okay? What do that mean? It means user only receive the minimum access necessary to perform their specific job. Okay? So an accountant doesn't need source code. Okay? So they should not access or they should not have be given an access to the source code. And a developer doesn't need an employee payroll files. So as well, the developer should not be able to have an access to the payroll files unless otherwise it is part of their job. Okay. It also defines identity verification rules like mandatory multi-factor authentication alongside with strict processes for granting, changing, and immediately revoking an access when employee leaves the company. So step 8 is data protection and privacy. Now, data is the organization's most valuable asset. So the policy must outline how do we guard across its entire life cycle. This includes data classification, wherein tagging data as public, internal, confidential, or restricted. Encryption standards. We require encryption both in transit over networks and at rest on storage drives or devices. Uh, it also includes secure storage practices, dictating the retention rules and secure deletion methods to protect privacy and stay compliant. Step 9. In cybersecurity, the golden rule is it's not a matter if you get attacked, but when. Okay? When a cyber or when a security incident happens, okay, panic is the most common enemy. Now, this in this section of your IT security policy, it will provide you a step-by-step emergency playbook. Now, it will detail who will be notified, who must be notified immediately, how to contain the threat, how to communicate with management or customers, and how to perform a post-incident analysis to ensure the same breach never happens again. Okay? Now, step 10 is security awareness and training. A security policy should not be a secret document locked in an IT vault. Now, for it to be utilized properly or to work, you need an active awareness program that will translate complex technical jargon into actionable daily habits for every employee. So that means regular training sessions must be in place, not just a one-time onboarding video. Okay, as a cyber threats evolve from simple spam to sophisticated deepfakes and targeted spear phishing, your team's knowledge needs continuous updates. So think of training just like a uh, regular flu shot for the organization. It keeps your digital immunity or immune system ready for new possible attacks. Now, step 11 is on regular review and updates. Technology moves fast and static policies become obsolete very quickly. Now, what worked 5 years ago won't be able to protect an organization running remotely or remote work environments or generative AI tools in today's setup. Now, organizations need scheduled routine policy or routine policy reviews. Okay. Now, whether there's a shift in technology infrastructure, an update to a national data regulations, or an internal company reorganization, okay, uh, would be part of this regular review and updates, as well as the security policy must adapt so it would remain practical and legally binding. Now, step 12, communication and reinforcement. Rules without enforcement are merely suggestions. Once a policy is finalized, it must be clearly and transparently communicated to every single employee across the organization. Now, along with the rules, define clear consequences for non-compliance, whether an infraction results in a mandatory restraining or disciplinary action or legal escalation. Now, setting explicit boundaries ensures accountability. A transparent enforcement framework will protect the integrity of the system and will eliminate ambiguity when someone bypasses security control. Step 13 focuses on documentation and accessibility. Now, if an employee needs to look up the company's rule on connecting personal USB drives, they should not they should not have to hunt down the IT director. The policy needs to be documented in plain, clear, and understandable language and placed where everyone can easily access or find it. Now, store it on the company intranet, inside the employee handbook, or in a centralized digital portal. When your when your security guidelines are just one click away, employees are far more likely to follow them consistently. Next, step 14, testing and simulation. Now, how do you know your security policy actually works before a real cyber attack happens? So, the simple way is to test it. Okay? Run controlled simulations such as sending fake phishing emails to test reporting rates, or conducting a mock ransomware drill to see how fast IT can isolate affected machines. Now, these real-world exercises will expose operational blind spots and show exactly where your procedures need any fine-tuning before an actual crisis will hit. Continuous improvement, foster a culture of continuous improvement by encouraging feedback from users, okay, and stakeholders. Now, cybersecurity is an ongoing cycle, not a one and done project. Okay, fostering a healthy security culture means encouraging active feedback from the very employee who use the systems every day. Now, by routinely assessing operations and incorporating user feedback, your organization can proactively update defenses against emerging threats. Now, to wrap up, developing an IT security policy is not just about drafting restrictions. It's about building a resilient, informed organization where a technology and people work together securely. Now, the National Cybersecurity Plan for 2000 for sorry, for 2023 to 2028 was formulated by the Department of Information and Communications Technology as as our nation accelerates into a fully digital economy where e-commerce, online banking, and digital government services have become daily norms. Our exposure to cyber threats has scaled exponentially. So the NS or the NCSP 2023 to 2028 serves as the Philippines National Master Plan for securing our uh, digital sovereign space, mandated under the RA 10844 and directly aligned with the Philippine Development Plan or PDP 2023 to 2028. Now, this plan establishes a proactive risk-based strategy, risk-based strategy that is structured across three core outcomes. Okay, you have your state and citizen defense, the workforce development or workforce capability, and policy and legislative enhancement or strengthening. Now, over the or within the next slides, we will be checking the framework that will safeguard our digitals or our digital nation. Okay, just for a uh, additional discussion, okay, Republic Act 10844 created the DICT and transferred national cybersecurity responsibilities to the certain department. Now, the NCSP 2023 to 2028 builds upon the lessons of the first iteration, which is the 2017 to 2022 plan. Now, it acts as a key sub-plan of the PDP 2023 to 2028, wherein recognizing that the digital security is no longer just a technical issue. It is a prerequisite for economic growth and national security. Now, we have this whole of nation approach. While the ICT leads the execution, all government agencies, the LGUs, and the private critical information infrastructure, okay, are required to align their internal security policies with this master plan or with this NCSP 2023 to 2028. Okay, so you might be asked why a national plan matters. Okay, consider what happens when a critical government portal or e-wallet platform suffers an outage due to cyber attack. Now, citizens will possibly lose access to health records, financial transactions, and their trust in digital government will degrade. Okay, or will be degraded. Okay, the NCSP would exist to replace fragmented reactive responses with a unified pre-planned defense across all public and private sectors. So in the next part of this recording, we will have to dissect or we will have to go into each part of the National Cybersecurity Plan 2023-2028. Thank you.